This is tutorial 6. In the previous tutorial, we looked at how to pass parameters to our GET and POST requests. We're going to expand on that a little bit in this tutorial. We're going to look at other ways in which the parameters are passed. We're going to look at different HTML controls, and we'll see how they affect the way we retrieve those parameters. The example that we have here, the code that we wrote in our previous tutorial, has a simple text box, and the text box has a name which corresponds to the get parameter that we're going to do here. We're going to do a get parameter of that name, and this string, the username string, will be associated with the value that the user is going to pass when they fill this text box and click submit. So the value is passed to the name of the control itself. So it's pretty straightforward. Whatever name you use here, you use the same name in order to do a get parameter, and you retrieve the value. So let's try a few more things here. We'll have one more text box. Let me call it full name. Well, I'm not going to worry about the labels here. I'll just call it full name, or let me write a label here. Okay, so I have two text boxes here. So if the user fills this, there will be a parameter called full name that will be passed. So let me capture that here as well. So I have a username here which I'm capturing. So I need to capture the extra parameter as well. So I'll use another string variable, and of course I can call the string variable anything, but this has to be same as the name of the text box. So I'll say full name here. Okay, so I'm going to modify this one. Note that we are not modifying the do get, because in our form we have mentioned that the method is post. So we know that the do post is the one that's going to get executed. So I'm just going to modify this for now. Okay. So you're going to tell the user what their full name is. Save. Okay, Tomcat redeploys it automatically. Now go back to this. Make sure you refresh the form. This is a mistake that I did last time. Unless you refresh the form, the changes that you do in the IDE will not get reflected over here. So I'm going to submit this now. I'll say ABC. My full name is ABC DEF. Submit quit. So there you go. It's hello from the post method, so we know that the post is run. We know we have captured the username, and we have also captured the full name. So there are two parameters that are passed simultaneously. Okay, so let's add a few more things here. Okay, I'll add a profession radio. Type is radio. Name is, I'll just call that prof. I need to pass a value, so pass the value developer. Okay, They'll add one more radio. Let's call it architect. Okay, so I have two radio buttons here. Let me add a break here so that looks neat. Okay, so I have two radio buttons here, and they have the name of prof. So I need to capture this value in the request.get parameter the same way as I would capture a text box. But instead of a value that the user types, what will be passed is the value that the user selects. So let me go ahead and add that code here. I'm not going to add to the same line. I'll have a new line. String prof equals request.get parameter prof. So I'm capturing the value that is being passed in the prof parameter. Let's say out dot println you are there you go. So yeah, now I've saved it, so I think Tomcat should auto deploy. Yeah, it has. Now let me refresh this again. So I have this radio. I'll choose developer. The other values are there. Say submit. Okay, so here we go. We have the earlier text, and we also have the newly captured value. So again, if you have multiple radio buttons, you can find out which is the one that's been selected by capturing the value. You can probably have an if or some conditional there to take action based on that. Next, we're going to do a select. Select name equals let me say location. An option. Again, here I need to have a value. Okay, just something arbitrary here. Okay, this is also straightforward, not a big difference. Location. Okay, go back, refresh, choose here. Of course, this comes up. Now is the tricky part. Now what happens if I choose more than one? Let's say I have this option of choosing more than one. Give a size equals 3. And a few more options. Okay, again, just some arbitrary values for testing. Okay, now let me not change this. Okay, I'm still gonna retain the code the same way, but what I've done here is I have enabled the user to choose more than one. So let's see how this works. Reload this. Now I'll just choose here, submit query. Everything works fine. Now what happens if I choose more than one? I'll say here and there. Only here comes up. Now what's happening to there? In order to catch multiple parameters, we need to make a change. Instead of calling get parameter, we need to call another method. Let's have a look at that. This is something that we need to do for any HTML control that has multiple values that's being sent. Another example that I can think of right now is a checkbox. You can check multiple items. So in that case, there are multiple values that are being sent for the same name, which is, in this case it's location. It will be the name of the checkbox in the case of the checkbox. So in that case, how do you capture all of them? So let's have a look at another method. Request dot get parameter values. Get parameter values knows that the value that you're passing is, it has multiple values. So in that case, it's going to give you all those values. But in order to capture that, you will need to take it inside a string array. It will not, you cannot pass that to a string. The return type is a string array. So if you just move your mouse over, you can see that the return parameter is a string array. So let's do that. We will pass the same location here, but instead of catching these values inside a string, I will catch those values inside a string array. Okay, so just to get the length, dot print ln. And a quick for loop. I'll take this out.println value and will print location of I. It's not really the best code, but should serve a purpose for now. So yeah, it's auto deployed. Now let me choose here and there. Let's submit query. So I get a response saying I'm at two places, here and there. So both these values, the values that I've selected here, both these have gone as a string array. So I can select all of them, and it's gonna create those many new strings in the array, and it's gonna add them. So it's here the count is 5, and here it's printed all the values that I've selected. So the same thing works for checkboxes also. You will have to use the get parameter values. You can of course use a get parameter, but then it's going to return only the first item in the array like we saw earlier.